Fos kiddos, welcome to Indoor Campout Night. I am so excited that you are watching and are ready to have a campout tonight inside. Hopefully you've already done your video for Kid Church in your activity page, and now we're going to have a little fun. We're going to do 3 things. The first thing is you need to go build your campsite. You can do all sorts of stuff. You can build a blanket fort in your living room. You can build maybe a tent that you already have that you usually use outside. If your parents are okay with it, use your tent inside. You can even set up a little campfire. I think it would be so fun if you brought in some little pretend logs. Maybe you could make some logs out of construction paper or something. And then you could use red, orange, and yellow tissue paper, set up a little campfire. It won't be a real fire, of course, but just for fun, pretend. We're just gonna use our imaginations tonight and set up an indoor campsite. So the next thing we are going to do is we are going to build a lantern. Our church is Fos Church, and the word Fos means light. I bet you already knew that, didn't you? So we are going to build our own lantern. You're going to need a water bottle, like a plastic water bottle that is a throwaway. A water bottle, some yellow paint, some construction paper, and a marker. You're also going to need a parent to cut the top off of the water bottle. And then you'll need something that you can carry the lantern with, because we know that light does not stay still, right? The lantern moves and the light moves. So you'll use maybe a black pipe cleaner, maybe some twine or string or yarn, anything that you can use to tie to put onto your lantern. But let's go ahead. You set up your indoor campground. You can pause the video to do that if you want. And then gather your ingredients for making our own lantern. And we're gonna do that next. See you there. All right, lantern making time. To make the lantern, I have scissors and tape, paint and something to put the paint in, yellow is best, a clear bottle, this is an A&W bottle, and I've taken off the outside part. If there's extra, then that's okay. A Sharpie, some sort of string or twine or pipe cleaner, paintbrush for my paint, piece of construction paper, I like green for this craft, and a little light. This is just a little battery light. You can't really see it since it's bright outside, but this lights up, but there's a little on-off switch on the bottom. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get started with cutting the top off of the lantern. See where the bottle starts to go toward the middle? That's where you want to make a cut. You're gonna cut all the way around, and this is not a job for you, this is a job for your parents. They may even wanna use like an X-Acto knife, and please be very careful. But I'm gonna go ahead and cut the top of my lantern, and then we'll be right back. All right, now I have my lantern, and this is trash. The top part of this can be sharp, so don't touch that. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our paint, shake it up just a little bit, and we are going to paint not the top part, not the bottom part, but this middle part. And as I paint the middle part, you're going to notice that the paint can go on thick or not thick. You want it to go on not thick, because you're going to put a light inside of here, and if the paint is too thick, guess what? You're not gonna be able to see it. So I like for my paintbrush strokes to all go in one direction. Also, the thinner the paint is, the faster it dries. So we'll set this aside to dry. Now we're going to cut 2 strips of paper. The paper is going to go around the top of the lantern and the bottom of the lantern. So you can decide based off of how big your water bottle is, how tall you want those sections. I'm thinking, from looking at mine, maybe 1.5 to 2 inches.
And I want them to be the same, so I'm going to lay this one on top. Now for the tape part. Before I use tape, I'm going to put on one of these strips. You could write your name. I could write Laura's Lantern on one and put that on the top. Or on the bottom, you might want to put like an on-off switch. I'm going to do like a circle. And then I'm going to do like all these little dashes, just little tiny dashes. And then like there's a center of the circle. And then it's showing that the light is on high power. So I might put high, low. So I want my light to shine bright. So then I'm going to take my tape and I'm going to tape it. If your water bottle is dry, tape it to the bottom of our water bottle. It's okay if the water bottle is not flat on the bottom. This will make it look flat on the bottom. So I'm going to tape it all the way around. And I'm also going to put some tape from the paper to the water bottle itself so that it stays on there. I'm doing it around the top part because the bottom is bumpy. And then we'll put our top part of our lantern on. But before we do that, we're going to tape our handle on. So I'm going to put the handle on one side. So I have the string on one side, not going down too far. And then directly on the other side, the other piece of tape. Are you seeing it coming along? Then I'm going to take my last piece and wrap it around the top. And I'm going to tape it kind of high to make sure I taped it a little higher than the bottle so that I wouldn't touch the bottle. Next, I'm going to turn my light on, drop it down inside my lantern, move it so it's right side up, and then have my very own lantern for my campsite. But before we get to our campsite, it's time to make s'mores. All right, snack time. We are making indoor s'mores. So inside we can use a microwave or we can use an oven. Either one, check with your parents and make sure that you can do what you're doing. If it's with the oven, then you're gonna need them with you the whole time. If you're gonna use a microwave, you can just use a paper plate or a microwave safe plate. If you're gonna use the oven, you'll want a cookie sheet with probably a piece of parchment paper on top. Our ingredients are going to be, you know it, graham crackers, big marshmallows, and chocolate bars. All right, we're gonna make our microwave s'more first. If you're doing this, you can just do one. You'll take your chocolate, put it on half of your graham, put your marshmallow on top so that it does not roll around. You're gonna microwave this for 20 seconds. Microwaving makes marshmallows expand a ton, so you'll need to keep an eye on it while it's in there. Okay, it expanded a ton, but it kind of fell off. So, everything is hot, so we're gonna use our spoon to make sure our marshmallow is right on top. Then we'll take our second half of our graham and we'll put it on top, smush it down, and there you have it, a microwave s'more. If you are making oven s'mores, you're going to turn your oven onto a setting called broil. This is where it heats very hot on the top. Make sure your oven rack is on the middle or low because the marshmallow can't take all that heat on the top. While the oven is heating up, we are going to make our s'mores on our tray. However many people you have enjoying a s'more, you're going to take 1 full graham cracker for that, break it in half, and set both halves on your tray. Then put 3 squares of chocolate on 2 of those grahams. Then take 2 mega marshmallows and put them on the opposite grahams. An oven on broil heats very, very hot and it can easily burn what's in there. So keep your eyes peeled at the oven while you're baking. All right, I noticed that the top of the graham crackers have gotten a little toasty, and the top of the marshmallow is toasty too, and I can see that the chocolate bar is starting to melt. So I'm going to let this sit for about a minute while it cools. And then we'll very carefully put it onto a paper plate and put the 2 pieces together. Okay, my pieces have cooled a little bit, it's still melty. So I'm going to take the chocolate that's kind of stuck to the graham and smush my marshmallow, and there you have it. S'mores right from the oven. Let it cool a little bit so it's not too hot to your tongue, and we are going to meet back at our campsite, wherever it is in your house, and we are going to tell some fun made-up stories just as a family together, and then we'll sign off and let you all have some fun. See you back at the campsite.
All right, we've built our campsite, we've built a lantern, we even built our campsite snack and made s'mores, so hopefully you've enjoyed those, and now it's time to settle down into our campsite. You might spend just 10 minutes in your indoor campground, or maybe you want to spend all night there. You don't have to sleep there if you don't want, especially parents I know may want to sleep in a regular bed if they've got work tomorrow. But while you're in your campsite time, what I would like for you to do is tell some stories. One challenge I have is you can make up a story. This is just a pretend story making time. So maybe your story around your campfire might be one person saying one sentence, like I could start with the sentence that says, Joe and Sally set up their tent in the deep, dark forest. And then I would pass to the next person. Maybe that's your mom or your dad or your brother or your sister. And they are going to say one sentence to continue the story. Maybe you pass it to your dad and he says, when Joe and Sally finished setting up their tent, it started to rain. And then maybe your dad passes to the next person. You can even use your lantern to pass around from person to person so that as you pass it, you know whose turn it is to make up a sentence. So that is one story game that you can play where each person makes up their own sentence. Another story game that you can play is, if you want, you could come up with things that are true and things that are not true. So one would be playing, this is a game called Two Truths and a Lie. So each person comes up with 2 things that are true about them and 1 thing that is not true about them, okay? I'll go first. Let me think. Okay, I have one. I was bit by a tiger. I was bit by a shark. I was bit by a penguin. So 2 of those are true and 1 is not true. Do you know which one is not true about me? I was not bit by a shark. That's right, I was bit by a tiger, but it was a little baby tiger. I got to hold a little baby tiger at an exhibit once. And the little tiger bit me, so it didn't hurt me, but it's tricky for the game. And I was also bit by a penguin whose name was Green Bean at the Newport Aquarium up in Ohio, up in northern Kentucky, up in Cincinnati area. So that's my 2 truths and a lie. Now you can come up with stories about yourself. Tell 2 things that are true and 1 that's a lie. Mix them up and see if your family can guess which is true and which is not. And I think that about wraps up our night. I'm so glad that you joined us. I hope that you can just cuddle down and that you can sleep really great tonight in your indoor camp out. And we will see you next week. I love you all.